So just a quick review. What we're doing is the opulence and beauty of Krishna. Yesterday, I think the majority of the time was spent speaking about Krishna's opulences, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was citing some pastimes involving Lord Brahma. We heard about the Brahma Vimohan Leela, how Krishna manifests as an aspect of his opulences. He manifests as all the cowherds, all the calves and cowherd boys. Then he manifests as Narayan forms with Brahmas worshipping him. We also heard about the pastime of Brahma going to Dwarka. You can remember that. And he was curious of why Krishna asked which Lord Brahma. And we spoke a little bit also about Krishna's qualities. They're also unlimited. His pastimes are unlimited, and his qualities are also unlimited. And this is following the mood and the rapture, so to speak, of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who's discussing to Sanatana Goswami. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is very much appreciating Krishna's opulence. He mentions about Lord Anantadev, whose thousands of hoods and faces cannot come to the end of speaking about Krishna's qualities. And also Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was speaking. He's quoted a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, which he gave 3 descriptions of. One was a general description he gave, and then he gave a middle description, and then he gave a confidential meaning. And at this point, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu introduces or becomes inspired with thoughts of Goloka Vrindavan. And then he compares, again, he speaks about Vaikuntha and the spiritual worlds in comparison to the material worlds. And this is that pastime we mentioned earlier. At this part, Lord Brahma is humbled by seeing all the Brahmas. And I learned something yesterday from Chaitanya Jivan Prabhu. Thank you if you're there again. He mentioned, as we mentioned, some of the Brahmas had 1 million heads. How that works was kind of inconceivable. But he mentioned that they're not all manifest at one time. That is I never knew that before. Thank you for that. And then Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is describing then the 3 different places where Krishna, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his original form, resides. Mathura, Vrindavan, Mathura, and Dwarka. And in the same way, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the purple, he resides in Navadvip, Puri, and Vrindavan. And I think we left off yesterday about here, how Krishna's potencies and his pastimes is like an unlimited ocean. This is the conclusion of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He's tasting from his position of humility just a small drop of this. Yeah. So this is what Krishna consciousness is about. We should be swimming in this ocean. Mainly we're swimming in the ocean of birth and death. But really we want to swim in the ocean of Krishna's qualities and pastimes, just like Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come to teach us what it means to be a devotee. So this is what it means to be a devotee. This is our life. This is our life and soul. This is what we like to do. Sadata Kirta Yanto Mam. Devotee is always relishing Krishna's pastimes. So it is like an ocean. Actually, Krishna's pastimes are more deeper than the ocean. Every ocean has a bottom at some point, like the Atlantic Ocean, the Pacific Ocean. They're limited. They're deep from one perspective, but they have the limitations. But Krishna's pastimes, Krishna's beauty, his pastimes, qualities, they're unlimited. So there's unlimited scope for us to be Krishna conscious in that sense. So it's good if we hear about Krishna's qualities and pastimes, we can begin to appreciate them. So we left it here yesterday. I think yesterday we actually, I specifically remember we left on the point of Krishna being Bhushana Angam, which means that the ornaments that he wears become glorified by being on his body. So beginning then, continuing, Lord Chaitanya is speaking to Sanatana Goswami. As we know, if you're following, where I'm just paraphrasing, this is chapter 21 of Madhya Lila, and paraphrasing 102, if you're following there, if you have the Chaitanya Charitamrita. He's speaking about the sweetness, this sweetness, Krishna being sweet. This comes up many times in discussions of Krishna's pastimes and his personality. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is appreciating this. He's explained to Sanatana Goswami that the transcendental form of Krishna is so nice. And he mentions that even if we have a fraction of an understanding or fraction of understanding Krishna's beauty, just one fraction of it, can merge all the three worlds in an ocean of love. This is how Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu describes. So just think of that, one little fraction can merge all the three worlds. So how many planets in the three worlds? So we discussed that in the beginning, say the Vaikuntha planets, then we discussed in comparison to material planets. So just one fraction of understanding of Krishna's beauty can merge all the three worlds. And he describes also in this verse that in this sense, Krishna attracts all living entities within the three worlds. So I was thinking about this. It's definitely, we see some people may not be, seem to be, or definitely are not attracted to Krishna. If we hold class on Krishna's qualities and pastimes, only a few very rare, fortunate souls may take interest. Other persons are more interested in other things. Yeah, so it says, but he attracts all living entities within the three worlds. Now, if we're in a diseased condition, then our original attraction for Krishna will be covered. But in essence, everyone is looking for the perfect relationship. Everyone is looking for something beautiful. Everyone is looking for something wondrous and exciting, but they're trying to look for it in matter because they misidentify themselves as being material and the material as being real. So that attraction is still there, but it's just misplaced. So as we engage in Krishna consciousness, then this original attraction, which everyone has, becomes revived. And we become naturally attracted to Krishna. That's the stage of Krishna consciousness where the natural attraction should awaken. So that's what it means by he attracts all living entities within the three worlds. Then Lord Chaitanya describes about this form of Krishna is shown to the world. So Lord Krishna, that person who is the Swayam Bhagavan, he from which all the Narayans come from, he from which all expansions come from, all the Purusha incarnations. What this Krishna, he manifests within the material world. And yada yada hitamasa klani bhavati bharata abhutanam tamamasya tadatma jam sujamayam paritnaya sadanam Anushyata diskritam tamasam sapanataya sambhavami yuge yuge. So this is verses in the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna comes to establish religious principles and to chastise the miscreants. But actually, as we know, the real reason he comes is paritnaya sadhanam, is to give his darshan to his devotees. He's upholding religious principles, can be done by his expansions, etc. So, but when Krishna comes, then Krishna personally comes. He comes, obviously, he comes by his internal energy, his spiritual energy. He's, as you know, Krishna is not like us. We are forced to take birth by the external energy, but Krishna chooses to come. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is appreciating this. And he gives this, he mentions it's the jewel like Krishna's original, the original form of God. We are so fortunate. It's difficult to comprehend how fortunate we actually are. There's many religions, as we know, persons worshipping the Lord, and we understand we are all worshipping the same Supreme Person. But mainly everyone's interested in his, you could say Aishvarya, but his potencies of being omnipotent and omnipresent and the controller. But what most people don't understand is that beyond all of this, there is a person. Because it's a large discussion you may have if you have some Muslim friends or Christian friends. Trying to bring them to this understanding may be difficult. But we're so fortunate that actually Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he has come to give, he's come to show, and he's come to share. What he describes here is this jewel-like, he describes this jewel-like form is the most confidential treasure of the devotees. Very confidential, Raja Goyam, in that sense. So it's like a treasure. This is our treasure. This is like where it's just like people, isn't it? We like to, many people like to gloat over their treasure, so to speak. If they have savings in the bank, a large amount of savings, they often, just like to look. They may not even spend it, but they just like to look at it every day, just to get some type of treasure. They have taking some shelter that this is gonna, give me ultimate relief and shelter. But actually, for devotees, the real treasure is this beautiful form of Krishna. This is the real treasure of our life. Actually, the treasure of Krishna, or the beauty of Krishna, is more valuable than any so-called diamond or ruby that you can possibly find in the material world. The other day on the news, I don't know if you saw it, someone in Africa had found this particular type of gem, very rare finding, which was worth about £3 million. And obviously, you can understand I was so intoxicated with happiness at this find. But actually, they haven't found anything. They haven't found it, just found a mundane. It's not going to liberate them from suffering. It's not going to liberate them from birth and death. And it's not going to imbibe them with joy and bliss and happiness. So this Krishna and his personal qualities and his pastimes, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu describes, this is the most confidential treasure of the devotees. That's why we have this picture here of a treasure chest. So what we're doing here in this chapter here, what Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is doing, he's opening this treasure chest and he's revealing to Sanatana Goswami. And as he mentions, just revealing a little bit, and that's enough to immerse the whole world. So he's opening this treasure chest. He goes on to describe that Krishna's personal feature, it's so great, I think we mentioned this earlier, that it even attracts Krishna to taste his own association. We could elaborate that on more. This is the whole tattva behind the appearance of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the mood of Radharani, as we know. He's come to savor what she relishes in him. So described, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu mentions directly the wonderful form of Krishna in his personal feature. He has an impersonal feature, and that impersonal feature is maintaining and manifesting all the material worlds. But behind that, there's a personal feature, and that even Krishna is attracted to that. I think we showed that picture I didn't comment on it much, but I referred to it, so I can just find it now. This picture here. This is where Krishna is looking at. This is in New Vrindavan in Dwarka. Krishna, who was it? One of the architect, the demigods. He made a replica Vrindavan for Krishna. And this is Krishna. He's looking in reflection and he's seeing his enchanting form. In that sense, becoming attracted. We cannot do that. If we look in the mirror and think the same thing, or oh, how attractive I am, then there's a problem. But Krishna doesn't have it. It's not the same. Then we are in grand illusion. Yeah. So, so Krishna becomes very eager to taste it, and that's why he comes as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And there's a little purple here. There's a nice description that Prabhupada gives of Krishna in the purple here. This is to text 104. And I just mentioned, I think I forgot to mention that, I have a duty to attend to, so we might finish a little bit early. I hope you don't mind, but we will go for easily over an hour. But we will cover everything. But just to let you know, we might finish a little bit early. Anyway, so in text 104, Prabhupada gives a purple. When we consider impartiality, all the unlimited pastimes of the Lord, we find that his pastimes, so how many pastimes of the Lord are there? Unlimited. How many expansions are there? How many pastimes? Yeah, so Prabhupada continues, we find that his pastimes as a human being on this planet, where he sports as a cowherd boy with a flute in his hands and appears youthful and fresh like a ballet dancer. This is Prabhupada's nice description. He appears youthful and fresh like a ballet dancer. Are pastimes and features that are never subject to material laws and inebrities. So this is the ultimate reality. We see that there's so many so-called depictions of superheroes, isn't there? So many cartoons of like Superman or this or that, or so many characters. But actually, and they're all just figments of someone's imagination. In one sense, we could say that they're all trying to, again, everyone has this natural attraction to Krishna. Everyone is naturally attracted to look at or appreciate something that is great, or someone that has beauty, someone that has wealth, someone that has strength. That's because as part and parcels of Krishna, we're attracted to that within Krishna. But with Krishna, it's not fiction. The material world, in one sense, is fiction. It's reality, but it's temporary. But the actual reality is the spiritual realm. So Krishna, Prabhupada mentions his pastimes and features that are never subject to laws and inebrities. So that's very exciting. Even if we may not be blessed to return to the spiritual world after this life, if we come back in association of devotees, what will we continue to do? Hearing about Krishna. We will continue hearing about Krishna's pastimes, his forms, and his qualities. That is reality. Everything else is temporary. And again, this comes up more than once. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu mentions it, Bhushana Bhushana Angam, and he mentions it again in text 105. He mentions ornaments caress the body, ornaments caress that body, but the transcendental body of Krishna is so beautiful that it beautifies the ornaments he wears. So again, this comes up again, Bhushana Bhushana Angam. Therefore, Krishna's body is said to be the ornament of ornaments. And then he mentions about, I was just reading over this, perhaps I should have got a picture of Krishna in his Tribhanga here. But he mentions about this Krishna in his free curved style of standing. We're all familiar with this. Above all these it's interesting, as a Pujari I mentioned, I one of my services addressing Radha Krishna, to see some deities are very much made in this way, tree banga. Our deity Radha Londoneshwar, for your interest, that's not shown so much in the actual form, but we try and bring it out when we dress Krishna. We put the garland in a certain way that it goes like this. Anyway, so Krishna, he has this free curved style of standing. Yeah. Now, Lord Chaitanya mentions that of all these beautiful features, he says above these beautiful features, Krishna's eyes, they dance, just quoting here, very wonderfully described, and they move obliquely. So obliquely, I'm just looking in, you'll see I'm looking in dictionary here. Not in a direct way or indirectly, looking here, there. So obliquely. It's described in other places, described Krishna's eyes have like they have a reddish hue, as if he's the kind of reddish tint, as if he's intoxicated. Now, he's not intoxicated by anything mundane, but he's always relishing love. He's always relishing the loving exchanges of his devotees. So in that sense, he's like a drunkard in love, of his devotees. He's appreciating his devotees. It's God. So his eyes, they move and they dance and they move obliquely. And describes that these eyes, then they, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is describing that they pierce the minds, his beauty and his devotee pierces the minds of Radharani and the Gopis, which is like often it's described in a very poetical way. Also descriptions of the Gayatri mantras is described like that. When the arrow of Krishna's glance hits its target, they become absorbed in love. They become agitated, not disturbed in a material sense or agitated in a mundane sense. They become stirred with love, stirred with desire to serve Krishna, just by his glance. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he continues here. I'm reading from 106. It says a very nice point as well, that the beauty of Krishna's body is so attractive that it attracts not only the demigods and other living entities within the material world, but also the personalities in the spiritual sky, as well as Narayan, all the Narayan forms, all the Vaikuntha forms. They're all attracted to Krishna. In one sense, it's quite amazing because they are Krishna. They're expansions of Krishna. They're manifestations of Krishna, exhibiting a certain potency, a partial potency of Krishna. But they're attracted to Krishna. They're attracted to his beauty. They're attracted to the beauty of Krishna's body. And also the goddess of fortune, the Lakshmis, they're the wives of Narayan. They're also attracted to the beauty of Krishna. I think there's pastime there where Lakshmi, she does different austerities to try and to gain the association of Krishna. You can read about that. As far as I can remember, the detail of that pastime is that she wasn't prepared to give up her position as Lakshmi and just be a gopi, so to speak. As one devotee was describing it, as she couldn't see herself making cow dung patties. Like simple village girls make cow dung patties. Anyway, even Lakshmi, she's desirous of Krishna. She's attracted to Krishna. Now, there's a nice poetic description here. Krishna rides. Where does he ride? He rides on the chariot of the gopis' minds. It's very poetic, yeah. Just to receive loving service for them, and he attracts them, just like Cupid. He is the original Cupid. He attracts the spontaneous love for and from his devotees. So, therefore, he is called, we all know, Madan Mohan. Though it's not said here, and Madan Mohan Mohini is Radhe Radhe. She attracts even Krishna. That's another subject in of itself. Yeah? So here's Madan Mohan. And described just as he is the attractor of Cupid. I remember one time I was fortunate enough to be in Vrindavan, and I joined a parakram with Dina Bandhu Prabhu. And he was wonderfully describing in one place where Cupid drew his arrow in order to shoot at Krishna. And as he was looking at the object of Krishna, he was taking aim, the beauty of Krishna so immersed him that he fell over. He fell over in a faint. So Cupid is completely bewildered. Everyone in the material world is bewildered by this mohan, or this attraction to the opposite sex, so to speak. Yeah. But Krishna, he conquers Cupid for his beauty. And described he has 5 arrows. They represent form, taste, smell, sound, and touch. So Krishna, he has these 5 arrows. And with his Cupid-like beauty, he conquers the minds of his devotees. Yeah. And engages them in loving pastimes. Also mentioned, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu mentions as well, Krishna wanders in the forest of Vrindavan with his friends on an equal level. This is another amazing aspect of Vrindavan, of Rajdham, where they wrestle with Krishna, they joke with Krishna. We know these pastimes, or his friends, sometimes they steal his lunch, or Krishna steals their lunch. Sometimes even the demigods come and offer prayers to Krishna, and then the cowherd boys are mimicking the demigods, just having fun. I was just reading the other night in one book by His Holiness Shivaram Swami, describing that Krishna, while prayers were being offered by the demigods, and one cowherd boy came behind when he was offering prayers and began to, dust off Krishna's, his turban, and were very intimate, and they never seen such a thing before. They could never do such a thing. All they can do is, with awe and reverence, pay obeisances and offer reverential prayers. But here we have these friends and these intimate associates who they're on an equal level to Krishna. Then he mentions the innumerable cows are grazing. Another one of his, and then he brings up another one of his blissful enjoyments when he plays his flute. I'm sure you've read descriptions. We'll probably read a little bit from this book called the Venu Gita. Nice when we get to that part where he describes, there's very wonderful descriptions from the Goswamis, describing how when Krishna plays his flute, also described in Krishna book by Prabhupada, all the living entities are attracted. The trees, the plants, the animals, and human beings. And they tremble, and they become overwhelmed with tears and thoughts and devotion. They're saturated with jubilation. Yeah. Who can claim to be such a musician as Krishna? Yeah. We have many buskers outside the temple, come and hear them playing their musical instruments, but playing flutes even, but who can compare to the flute playing of Krishna? It's from the flute playing of Krishna that whole of creation manifests. Yeah. Lord Brahma was empowered with them through mantra given by Krishna through his flute. So then Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu begins to here we're trying, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is given some examples. Actually, the beauty of Krishna is beyond our comprehension, really. Even the color of Krishna's body, we know it's like a dark rain cloud, but that's just Shankar Chandranaya. There's this term Shankar Chandranaya, where in order to see the moon, you point to a tree from which the moon is behind. yeah, to give you a sense of direction where the actual moon is, Shankar Chandranaya. So in that way, there's different descriptions. And devotees, very advanced devotees, in their rapture of meditation, Krishna appears before them, and then they write, to try and bring us right in such a way so we can appreciate, at least to some degree, the beauty of Krishna. So anyway, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu here, he compares the pearl necklace that Krishna wears. He wears a pearl necklace. And the example he gives, if you look at, say, a blue sky, here's a gray sky in this picture here, it's like white herons around his neck. So this is a poetic description, but it's a description of the effect of the actual darshan of Krishna. Everything about him is extraordinary. Everything. His eyes, his nose, his hair, everything. There's this wonderful, we know this, there's this wonderful bhajan. Everything is sweet about the Empress of Sweetness. Yeah. So Krishna's just a pearl necklace. It doesn't, if we was to wear a pearl necklace, it wouldn't look like an amazing chain of white herons. But with Krishna, that's the impression it gives. It's so beautiful, so wonderful. So, and he mentions, so Krishna wears a pearl necklace that appears like a chain of white herons around his neck. And the peacock feather in his hair, sure you can guess which photo this is, it appears like a rainbow. Yeah. A rainbow is quite inspiring, isn't it? Whenever we see a rainbow, it's quite, gives a sense of specialness or uniqueness, isn't it? We always like to see a rainbow. So Krishna, the peacock feather that appears in Krishna's hair, it's just like that, or even more than that. It appears like a rainbow. And Lord Chaitanya then goes on to describe his garments. I'll try my best to find a picture of lightning. But so what do his garments appear like? Krishna always wears a yellow dhoti, and the impression of that is like lightning in the sky. Yeah. Lightning, isn't it? It's very attractive. Just like a rainbow is very attractive. Also, lightning has an attractive feature about it. I'm sure we've all done that. I remember one time in Mayapur, many years back, there was this massive storm with electric lightning and very dramatic. So I went upstairs on the roof and I was enjoying watching this really magnificent display. So that's what Krishna's garments appear like. They appear like lightning in the sky. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continues. He mentions Krishna is full in 6 opulences, and specifically he's mentioned his attractive beauty, which this is the shelter of all his other opulences. And a part where I read from Venu Gita will explain that. But of all his opulences, the most, you could say, the one that all the opulences take shelter of, or the most prominent, is his beauty. Yeah. Such the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu describing that his sweetness is the quintessence of his qualities. So let's just look at quintessence. Come up. The most perfect or typical example of quality. Okay. So the most perfect and typical. So of all these, remember we mentioned Krishna has how many qualities? Rupa Goswami gives 64, but actually there's unlimited qualities, unlimited. So the quintessence of all that qualities is his sweetness. So Mahaprabhu is absorbed, his mind is absorbed in this. And he describes, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then quotes Sukadeva Goswami. So he's described the pastimes of Krishna throughout the Bhagavatam. And hearing these descriptions, the devotees become mad with love of God. Yeah. So hopefully we're becoming madmen. But eventually we want to become mad. Let's hope we might be blessed mad with love and appreciation of Krishna. At the end of this chapter, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu compares himself to a madman. Also, there's a quote also from the women in Mathura. They're describing in a non-envious way the great fortune of the Gopis of Vrindavan and the qualities of Krishna. Yeah, they're very much appreciating. And this verse also describes that they're thinking, what austerities must have these personal associates have performed? Because where they can always drink the nectar of the form of Lord Krishna. Yeah. Well, hopefully we should aspire for such a thing, to always be drinking the nectar of the form of Lord. We have to, in this material world, isn't it? We have to look. There's so many unpleasant things in this world, isn't there? So much unpleasantness on the news, so much, unfortunately, in this world we are in, so much negativity, so much unpleasant things. But how fortunate those persons are always drinking the nectar. A wonderful poetry description as well. When devotees take darshan of Krishna, or when we really take darshan of Krishna, it shouldn't be mindless when we're taking darshan, deity greetings, or you have your deities at home. We should be appreciating, drinking nectar through the eyes, drinking the nectar of Krishna's form. This is what it means to be taking darshan of Krishna. And actually, sometimes it's described Krishna as taking darshan of us. Yeah. And we are coming before Krishna and showing our complete naked self, so to speak, and giving ourselves to Krishna. But with their eyes, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continues that they always drink the nectar of the form of Krishna, which is the essence of loveliness and is not to be equaled or surpassed. Just reading directly here. That loveliness is the only abode of beauty, fame, and opulence. It is self-perfect, ever fresh, and unique. In one sense, it's described that in a material world, everyone is trying to be, play out to be God. It's in gross or subtle ways. It just comes to mind because often materialistic people, everyone thinks they're unique and special. Yeah, and there's something unique about me that no one else knows. I'm very special. Yeah. But actually, that's only Krishna. This is illusion. Krishna is ever fresh and unique. Now, the wonderful poetry. We was reading this morning as well in Chaitanya Charitamrita, the class in class this morning here. Was reading about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he dives into the ocean at Jagannath Puri, thinking that it's the Yamuna, and he's immersed in samadhi and seeing the pastimes of Krishna. Then he comes out of that. There's a whole leela there where a fisherman catches him in his net. I'm sure you might be familiar with that. Then eventually his associates revive him from his internal absorption. And then he begins to describe what he saw. And the way he describes is very beautiful, very poetic. And like similarly here, the bodily beauty of Krishna is like a wave in the ocean of eternal youth. So that's beautiful description, isn't it? I'll say it again. The bodily beauty of Krishna is like a wave in the ocean of eternal youth. And he goes on to describe, so in that great ocean is a whirlpool of the awakening of ecstatic love. Okay, just try and follow this. The vibration of Krishna's flute is like a whirlwind. And the flickering minds of the gopis who are attracted in love to Krishna, they're like straws and dry leaves. So what happens? A whirlwind comes and it whips up the straws and the dry leaves. And after they fall down in the whirlwind, they fall down at Krishna's lotus feet, never to rise again. Yeah, they've been captured by Krishna. It's a wonderful poetic description. Beauty, the bodily beauty of Krishna is like a wave in the ocean of eternal youth. Let me read this again. In that great ocean is the whirlpool of the awakening of ecstatic love. The vibration of Krishna's flute is like a whirlwind. He plays his flutes like a whirlwind, which transmits the beauty and qualities of Krishna. And the flickering minds of the gopis are like straws and dry leaves, become captured and rest at Krishna's lotus feet. Beautiful description. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continues. Again, he's quoting from Bhagavatam here, from the queens, I think still in Mathura, Dwarka, perhaps. Anyway, oh my dear Lord, what severe austerities have the gopis performed to drink his transcendental beauty and sweetness through their ears? Interesting, through their ears. So how do we learn about Krishna? How do we see Krishna? We might be familiar with this principle through our ears, through hearing. Yeah, hopefully we may be appreciating this description here. We're hearing through our ears. Yeah, so we appreciate the Krishna through the process of Shabda Brahma. Yeah, through the ears, and thus they glorify their births, bodies, and minds, and so the gopis are glorified in that way. Nothing is equal or greater than such ecstatic sweetness. So we have sweetness, then there's ecstatic sweetness. Even the predominating deities of the Vaikuntha planets, the Narayans, do not possess such sweetness. As we know, Nectar of Devotion describes the various Krishna's qualities, and there's 4 qualities which makes Krishna distinct from all the other forms. And one of them is his beauty. Yeah. One of them is Venu Madhurya, Leela Madhurya, Rupa Madhurya, and his loving pastimes. Yeah, Leela Madhurya, Rupa Madhurya, Venu Madhurya. So again, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is mentioning this again. None of the incarnations of Krishna up to Narayan possess such transcendental beauty. And then Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu speaks of this pastime. He kind of refers to it, where the goddess of fortune, she'd done austerities in order to get the association of Krishna, and she took a great vow and underwent severe austerities. In one place, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is having a discussion. I forget the name of the devotee, but he's a devotee of, he's in the Sri Sampradaya, and he's devoted to Lakshmi Narayan. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in a very sweet, wonderful way, he's, could say, challenging this devotee. And he explains that your Lakshmi, who you're so devoted to, she does austerities to obtain the association of Krishna. So why don't you worship Krishna? Describes. And it mentions here that he's a mind, I put it in the title, he's a mind of all transcendental qualities. People dig mines, isn't it? What do they dig mines for? Bits of metal. But in Krishna consciousness, we should be digging the mine of Krishna's transcendental qualities. Yeah. In one sense, you could describe that our chanting should be like a whirlwind. Yeah, it should be, we're trying to churn. Eventually, hopefully, when we make advancement and become more pure in heart, in our chanting, we can be absorbed in thinking of Krishna's qualities and pastimes. Yeah, that comes first from attentive chanting, learning how to chant. But Krishna is the mind of all transcendence, so this is what we should be doing, mining these transcendental qualities of Krishna. So his manifestations and personal expansions, there is only a partial exhibition of Krishna's qualities. Krishna has everything in fullness. Everything comes from him. That's why again in the Brahma Vimohan Leela, it was seen that all the Narayan forms, they all merged, they all kind of merged, perhaps that's not the right word, but they all entered into the body of Krishna. And Krishna was there eating his lunch as before Lord Brahma when he took the cowherd boys away. So, yeah. So only a partial exposition of such qualities. And then now Krishna, now Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his mind is going more to the quintessence, say, to the pinnacle of devotion, which is shown in the Gopis. And so he's meditating and he's beginning to appreciate even more. And he describes that the Gopis' ecstatic love is like a mirror that becomes newer and newer at every moment. Another interesting poetic description, like a mirror that becomes newer and newer at every moment. It's pretty one of the characteristics of the material world is that bodies age, isn't it? We age, our bodies age, everything becomes hackneyed and old. But not Krishna. He's at ever the Gopis' ecstatic love or ecstatic love for Krishna. And so the Gopis' ecstatic love is like a mirror that becomes newer and newer at every moment and reflects Krishna's bodily luster and sweetness. So they're looking at Krishna, they're absorbed in Krishna, and the effect of that is that they become more attractive. And then Krishna, as we know, we devotees are familiar with this, then Krishna sees the Gopis and he becomes more attractive. Krishna is not attracted to matter. He's not attracted to bodies. He's not attracted to bhumi apornala vayu kama manubha evacha. Krishna is attracted by one thing, and that's love. Yeah, so Krishna, he's appreciating the ecstatic love of his devotees, and that fills him with, he becomes more, if it can be understood, he becomes more beautiful. He becomes more fresh and newer. And this way, there's a competition going on, so to speak. That's mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita as well. So, since neither, so the competition increases. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was mentioned, it's like a competition. But since neither give up, their pastimes become newer and newer, and both sides constantly increase. Difficult for us to comprehend in this world of matter because everything becomes older and older. But in the reality of the spiritual world, everything becomes newer and newer. Yeah, I often give this. Sometimes I give the examples, just like for great devotees, when they chant the holy name, their taste for Krishna is increasing and increasing. So, example we often give is just like if you had some bubble gum, chewing gum, and imagine if it never lost its taste. That the more you chewed it, then the more it would taste, and the taste would just keep on increasing and increasing, year after year, and just leave you in wonder and rapture. Yeah, we don't have such chewing gum here in the material world, but we do in one sense. We have the holy name. So the more we become practiced in chanting the holy name, in meditating upon Krishna's holy name, then hopefully, I'm sure everyone who's all chanting, we have some experience of this, perhaps every now and again. But we should be having this experience that we're getting more taste now since we began chanting. We get more taste. I've been chanting 5 years. There should be more taste in 10 years. Of course, often it doesn't work like that. Sometimes it should do, but perhaps in our pathway of chanting, there may be dips because of different reasons, perhaps inattentive chanting, perhaps offenses. But the overall practice of Krishna consciousness, if we're practicing nicely, we should be relishing more. I haven't asked any questions or comments yet. Perhaps I'll just open it up. If anyone has any questions or comments, you're welcome to ask. Otherwise, we'll continue. If there's no questions, I must guess you're all stunned hearing these wonderful descriptions of Krishna. But if you do have a question, please, or you have a comment, please unmute and we can address that. I happily address that. So, should we continue? Let's continue. And as we know, these I'm just reading here from verse 119. The transcendental mellows generated from the dealings between the Gopis and Krishna cannot be tasted. You cannot enter into that. You cannot have appreciation of that by doing any amount of piety, by doing yoga, by doing austerities. You can speculate for millions of years, reading the Vedas and studying millions of years. It cannot be had through, mentions here by a regulative devotional service. Yeah, sadhana. This is to really appreciate this. We have to come to a higher level of more natural, spontaneous practice. So, nor by meditation or mantra yoga. That doesn't mean a Maha Mantra. There's many mantras that people chant in order to try and achieve some type of perfection. So he mentions the sweetness. This sweetness, which Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is describing, can be tasted only through the spontaneous love of liberated persons who chant the holy names with great ecstatic love. Okay, let me read that again. This sweetness can be tasted only through the spontaneous love of liberated persons who chant the holy names with great ecstatic love. That's a wonderful sentence, isn't it? Yeah. So we are completely dependent upon those great devotees who are relishing Krishna consciousness. By their grace and mercy, we may get a little sprinkling of appreciation of Krishna's pastimes and qualities. What I do at this point, I won't stop and ask for questions, but if you do have a question or comment, you just make yourself known, press unmute, and then we can address it if it's there. Okay, we'll do like that. Now he mentions that what we're hearing, obviously Krishna and the Gopis and their love, this is all in Vrindavan. And this, again, it's like a mine of gems. The form of Krishna is the original source of all transcendental qualities. Again, he brings up, it's like a mine of gems. Yeah. The opulences belonging to all the personal expansions of Krishna are understood to be bestowed by Krishna. This point has been mentioned before. Therefore, Krishna is the original source and shelter of everyone. Now then, I'm just looking at what slides we have left. And we might just miss a couple of things here. Now, this point we're familiar with as well. We may have heard this description. This is in text 122. After seeing Krishna, various people criticize the blinking of their eyes. So various people, we probably understand that the Gopis, especially in Vrindavan, that the Gopis criticize Lord Brahma because there's a defect in their eyes. What is that defect? That they blink. Well, that's another. I mean, I've just blinked. I'm just blinked just now. But the Gopis, here, it's not just we can't understand. We can't fully appreciate. But it's serious. I mean, they're not just speaking some poetics here. They actually really feel that Brahma's done a really bad job, because they have eyes that blink. I was reading or heard the other day that the demigods don't blink. Interesting. The demigods, their eyes don't blink. Also, fish don't blink. Yeah, the eyes don't blink. But we human beings, we have this, or according to the Gopis, we have big defect that the eyes blink. And when that blinking is there, they cannot see Krishna. So on that point, we don't have time to really get into it so much, but the feelings of separation of the Gopis when Krishna left Vrindavan and went to Mathura Dwarka, how can one imagine that? If the Gopis are feeling distraught because they can't see Krishna when they blink, what to speak of Krishna when he leaves Vrindavan? That's a whole subject in of itself. And then there's another really beautiful poetic description of Krishna, that Krishna, he appears like a newly risen cloud. So we have a picture of I don't know if it's a newly risen cloud, but there's clouds there. So imagine a newly risen cloud. And the Gopis, he compares them, they're like newly grown grains in a field. So the constant rains, we have a picture there, the bigger one, of nectarian pastimes fall upon these newly grown grains. And it seems that the Gopis are receiving beams of life from Krishna, exactly as grains receive life from the rains. So again, that's another beautiful description. This is the essence of poetry. Poetry is there, should be there only to glorify Krishna, only to glorify his pastimes and his qualities. And here Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in his great ecstatic love, is very wonderfully describing. And he quotes directly a verse from the Gopis. "O Krishna, when you go to the forest during the day, and we do not see your sweet face, which is surrounded by beautiful curly hair, half a second becomes as long as an entire age for us. And we consider the Creator, who has put eyelids on the eyes we use for seeing you, to be simply a fool." Yeah. There's this nice picture here. Why I put this picture, I put this together some time ago and I couldn't, and I'll just read here from this verse. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is identical with the Vedic hymn known as Kama Gayatri, which is composed of 24 and a half syllables. Okay, this is why I got this picture of a moon. Those syllables are compared to moons that arise in Krishna. Thus all the worlds are filled with desire or calm. Yeah. So then there's a description, a nice description of what those full moons are. And here we have a nice picture of Radha Landaneshwara. The face of Krishna is like the king of the moons, and the body is like the throne where the king sits of Krishna's face. All the other Krishna's two cheeks that shine like glowing gems, full moons. And that reminds me, actually, Landaneshwara, of course, they look beautiful every day, but some of you, there is darshan today from 4 to 6. I don't know if some of you are planning to come, if it's convenient. Some of you obviously live too far away, but there is darshan today from 4 to 6, and you can come and see Krishna's beautiful moon-like face. So from 4 to 6, please come if you can. Yeah. So Krishna's two cheeks that shine like glowing gems, they're full moons. His forehead is considered a half moon, and a spot of chandan, a full moon on his forehead. The fingernails are many full moons. They dance on the flute in his hands. The toes also many full moons, and they dance on the ground. So it's a wonderful. So Krishna is like he's playing the flute, and his fingernails are like moons, and his toenails and his toes are like moons. Krishna's face is the enjoyer king. So just remember, I always like to just remember back, we are following the mood and description of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He's speaking to Sanatana Goswami, and he's become overwhelmed. He's become immersed into glorifying Krishna's actual personality. As before, he's been describing the opulences, and now he's gone into the ecstasy of the sweetness of Krishna. So he's relishing this. So he mentions Krishna's face is the enjoy king. That full moon face makes his shark-shaped earrings and lotus eyes dance. His eyebrows are like bows, and his eyes are like arrows. His ears are fixed on the string of that bow. And when his eyes spread to his ears, he pierces the hearts of his devotees. I'm just reading directly here. The dancing features of his face surpasses all other moons and expand the marketplace of full moons. Wonderful description. Expands the marketplace of full moons. Although priceless, the nectar of Krishna's face is distributed to everyone. Some purchase the moon rays of his sweet smiles, and others purchase the nectar of his lips. Thus he pleases everyone. Krishna has two reddish, widely spread eyes. These are the ministers of the king. Remember, the king is his beautiful face. They're the ministers of the king, his two reddish eyes. And they subdue the pride of Cupid, who also has beautiful eyes. That face of Govinda, which is full of happiness, is the home of the pastimes of beauty and is very pleasing to everyone's eyes. So hopefully this should be the experience of Krishna consciousness, is that it's very pleasing. Everything about Krishna consciousness is very pleasing. The kirtan is pleasing. Association with devotees is pleasing. Of course, prasadam is pleasing. Yeah, the classes, hopefully, they're pleasing. This is all. The Krishna consciousness is a manifestation of Krishna, his sweetness and beauty. So it's up to us, hopefully, that people should be attracted when they see the Harinam, when they see devotees, or even if they meet devotees. You know, devotees are so possessed because of being devoted to Krishna. They're manifesting such wonderful qualities. So hopefully in our day-to-day dealings, and people become intrigued and are attracted to the devotees. But this is all manifestation of Krishna's sweetness. Again, the Lord Brahma, the Gopis continue to criticize Lord Brahma. Yeah. Interesting, the Gopis can do such things. Often described that we shouldn't criticize, but the Gopis in their ecstatic love, they are becoming critics. They're criticizing in their great love Lord Brahma. They say, if by devotional service one gets the results of pious activities and sees Krishna's face, what can he relish with only two eyes? I think Sanatana Goswami, or just the verses by, I think some verses by Rupa Goswami describing the holy name. I wish I had thousands of tongues and thousands of ears to appreciate the sweetness of Krishna. In that same vein, let me start again. If by devotional service one gets the results of pious activities and sees Lord Krishna's face, what can he relish with only two eyes? His greed and thirst increase twofold by seeing the nectarian face of Krishna. Due to his inability to sufficiently drink that nectar, he becomes very unhappy and criticizes the creator for not having given more than 2 eyes. So the Gopis continue, why didn't the creator give me thousands and millions of eyes? Why have I only 2? Why not millions of eyes so I can? And why are they blinking? Why do better have eyes, have millions of eyes that don't blink, so we can continually relish the nectar of Krishna, Starshan. So in this way, they accuse, we have this title here, a dry manufacturer. Lord Brahma is a dry manufacturer. The creator is only a dry manufacturer. He actually does not know how to create and set things in their proper place. He's done a great mistake. This is the wonderful rapture of the Lord's devotees, the Gopis here. Let those who will see Krishna's face have 2 eyes. Just see the lack of consideration exhibited by this person, posing as the creator. If the creator took my advice, he would give millions of eyes to the person who intends to see Sri Krishna's face. If the creator will accept this advice, then I say he is competent in his work. Yeah. So coming to an end of this wonderful description of 2 or 3 more slides. Again, if you have any comments, please raise them. Perhaps what we'll do, get ready. When I finish, I'll ask for anyone has anything to reflect back, anything which they've appreciated and they want to share, anything they've heard. So you can be thinking of that at this point. If you might like to share something, it's nice to hear, because I'm just talking. I would like to hear from someone from the other side as well out there. So continuing, text 135. So Lord Krishna's form is compared to an ocean. A particular extraordinary vision is the moon above that ocean. So picture the ocean, there's a moon. Sri Krishna's face, an even more extraordinary vision than his face is his smile, which is sweeter than sweet and is like the shining beams of moonlight. So I've got the mark here where I want to read from Venu Gita. Let me see where that is. Okay, it's there. So, okay. So while speaking these things, so to Sanatana Goswami, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he begins to remember one thing after another. So all these things are coming into the heart of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he's moving his hands in ecstasy. So he's moving, I don't know exactly how he's moving, but he's moving his hands in ecstasy, and he recites a verse. He recites this verse. Oh my Lord, the transcendental body of Krishna is very sweet, and his face is even sweeter than his body. But his soft smile, which is the fragrance of honey, is sweeter still. Okay, you follow that? Oh my Lord, the transcendental body of Krishna is very sweet, and his face is even sweeter than his body, but his soft smile, which has the fragrance of honey, is sweeter still. And he describes, my dear Sanatan, the sweetness of Krishna's personality is just like an ocean of nectar. He described that his mind is afflicted by, he's describing as convulsions of a convulsive disease. And I wish to drink that entire ocean. But the repressive physician does not allow me to drink even one drop. And there's this purport here where Prabhupada describes, quoting here, when there's a combination of kapha, pitta, and vayu, the 3 bodily elements, there occurs sannipati, or a convulsive disease. Lord Chaitanya said that this disease of mine is caused by the personal features of Lord Krishna. The 3 elements are the beauty of Krishna's body, the beauty of his face, and the beauty of his smile. So stricken by these 3 beauties, my mind goes into convulsions. So nice poetic description or nice metaphor like Kapha, Pita, and Vayu, becomes disturbed and creates convulsions. So the beauty, the beauty of Krishna's body, the beauty of his face, and the beauty of his smile. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is experiencing these, what he describes as convulsions of ecstasy. And he wishes to drink the ocean of Krishna's beauty, but because I am undergoing convulsions, my physician, who is Krishna himself, does not allow me to take a drop of water from the ocean. So in this way, Prabhupada describing how Lord Chaitanya is becoming very ecstatic. Krishna's body is a city of attractive features. That's another wonderful description. It's a whole city. I mean, I live in central London, kind of a city, but there's lots of features, not very pleasant in London. But Krishna's body is like a city of attractive features. That's something else to perhaps meditate upon. Yeah, like a city of attractive features, and is sweeter than sweet. His face, which is like the moon, is sweet as still, and a supremely sweet, gentle smile on that moon-like face is like the rays of moonshine. So Krishna's flute. Well, at this point, I read this description kind of in Venu Gita by Shivaram Swami Maharaj, wonderful book. He's commenting, or he's based on this part of the Madhya Lila, he's written this wonderful description. So I'll just read it, and hopefully you can try and meditate. It's kind of given a summary of these descriptions which we're hearing, specifically here about Krishna's flute. Everyone want to hear? Hare Krishna. Okay, ready? Okay. So just meditate. This is like just meditate on each part of this. It develops more. Just try and meditate on what we hear and try and picture it within, if you can, as much as you can. Try and picture it within your mind's eye. Yeah, forget about the material world. Forget about all the anxieties that we have around, in this world of matter, and just open and ears and hear. Sri Krishna, the undisputed master of unlimited universes and possessor of all strength, wealth, fame, knowledge, and renunciation, is only partially understood through these ever triumphant potencies. Complete appreciation of his glory is achieved by taking shelter of his mind-enchanting beauty, the source of all opulence and a resident of his extraordinary form. The cardinal nature of this beauty is its supreme sweetness. This sweetness is the essence of all that is sweet. It puts to shame all sweet things, and it is the ability to taste sweetness where it exists. The sweetness of Krishna radiates its essential nature through a subtle effulgence, which spreads out from his transcendental limbs and resembles a gentle golden glow. The most exquisite part of Govinda's form is his radiant face. The sweetest part of Krishna's moon-like face is his enigmatic smile, which is the silver moonshine of his countenance and spreads its nectar throughout the world. Without the radiance of Krishna's smile, sugar would be bitter, honey would be sour, and nectar devoid of taste. When the moonshine of his smile and the illumination of his form are combined, they resemble the aroma of camphor. When this camphor enters the flute through Krishna's lips, it emerges as an inexplicable vibration that forcibly attracts the minds of those who hear it. As words carry the purport of thought, as the mind is understood through the eyes, As the smile conveys the feelings of the heart, similarly, the flute sound transmits the beauty of Sri Krishna. It enters through the ear and installs him within the temple of the heart. Hare Krishna. Isn't that wonderful description? And yeah, perhaps we're finished there. I hope you found this refreshing and wonderful to hear directly Krishna Katha about Krishna's wonderful qualities and pastimes. Oh, actually, let me just finish here. Resuming his external consciousness, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Sanatana Goswami. So now he's coming out of this rapture that he's been in, and he looks at Sanatana Goswami and he says, I have not spoken what I intended. Lord Krishna is very merciful to you, because by bewildering my mind, he has revealed his personal opulences and sweetness. He has caused you to hear all these things from me for your understanding. Since I become a madman, I'm saying one thing instead of another. This is because I'm being carried away by the waves of the nectarian ocean of Lord Krishna's transcendental sweetness. So then Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu becomes silent at this point. He becomes silent. Then he's adjusting things, he adjusts things in his mind. And then he again finally speaks to Sanatana Goswami. So this is a benediction that is given. So everyone get ready. Everyone ready for a benediction from hearing these classes, from hearing this presentation of Madhya Lila, chapter 21. If anyone gets the opportunity to hear about the sweetness of Krishna in this chapter of Chaitanya Charitamrita, he will certainly be eligible to float in the transcendentally blissful ocean of love of God. Well, that can't be bad, isn't it? What a wonderful benediction. And then he prays, praying at the feet, lotus feet of Sri Rupa, and Sri Krishnadas is offering this prayer, praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Raghunath, always desiring their mercy. I, Krishna Das, narrate Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, following in their footsteps. Hare Krishna. So we've finished this presentation. If anyone would like to share something which inspired you, please do. Anyone out there? Hare Krishna. Let me open up, see who's there. Otherwise, I'll have to choose someone. I can't see all the people out there.
Hare Krishna. I think, was it Samin Mataji?
Yeah, please, if there's
had a
question been on the chat, please.
You have to unmute yourself. Yeah. Thank you, Mataji.
No, Prabhu.
Please.
Thank you very much. You created such a beautiful scenery for all of us. I especially what I loved all of them, but what stayed in my mind was the description of Krishna's peacock compared to the rainbow.
Yes, yes.
That was so beautiful. Thank you very much. I have a question, Prabhu.
Yes, please.
Well, obviously, you know, these are also beautiful things, but you mentioned during your talk that especially in this age and in this time and this situation that we see and come across so many unpleasant things. It's so good to see and hear about these pleasant things about Krishna. But I'm just wondering, how can I understand when there are some features of Krishna, whether it's the his incarnation or his image or his activities, which to my material eye does not look so pleasant.
Like he's killing demons, for example? You mean like that? He's
well, well, when he kills the demons, when there is some fighting, he's doing, tearing off, parts of the bodies, and blood is running, and
Yes. Yeah, well, everything about Krishna is transcendental. So the devotees, they relish all of Krishna's pastimes, even Krishna killing the different demons. I was listening to the memories Shruti Kirti was sharing, that often he would read to Prabhupada in the evening, Krishna book. And what would excite Prabhupada the most would be reading about Krishna killing demons. Prabhupada would become very animated and very excited to hear how he killed Denakasura, how he killed Agasura. He become very animated. So devotees, devotees have so much affection and attraction to Krishna that everything he does is beautiful and everything is wonderful. Even from an external point of view, it may not seem so. For example, devotees, we have pictures in a temple of Lord Nrsimhadev disemboweling Hiranyakashipu. We know that picture, isn't it?
Yes.
It's quite a graphic picture. But devotees love that picture. One time, in that regard, there was a court case somewhere in America, and the devotees were being accused of, we know the scene, accused of kidnapping and brainwashing, and the devotees were there in court, and the lawyer, he brought some evidence out to prove that the devotees were kind of malicious, and he brought this big picture of Lord Nrsimhadev, and he held it up in front of the court, said, "Just see, look who they worship." And the devotees went, "Jai Lord Nrsimhadev Ki Jai." And they prayed obeisances to this picture of Lord Nrsimhadev. So that's just like someone, if you have really deep affection and love for someone, perhaps it's difficult to find in this material world, but if you really have deep affection and love for someone, that's a sign of love, that everything they do is wonderful.
So, Prabhu, thank you very much for your explanation. Did Lord Chaitanya describe those features as well?
Those killing different demons? Sometimes Lord Chaitanya would, in his mood of ecstasy, sometimes he would take on the mood of Lord Nrsimhadev. And Lord Chaitanya would sometimes take on the mood of Lord Nrsimhadev, and all the devotees would run and be scared. Then he would become peaceful again. So yes, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would relish the pastimes of Krishna, also would relish hearing about the pastime of Dhruva Maharaj and his becoming benedicted by Lord Narayan. What we're trying to say, in other words, is that the devotees enjoy and relish all aspects of Krishna's pastimes. Like we love the Bhagavad Gita, or we love the Battle of Kurukshetra. We're not interested in World War II or World War I. We're not interested in such things, but we're interested in the Battle of Kurukshetra. Why? Because Krishna's there. Yeah, and that makes everything wonderful. So it's a case of developing attraction, more deeper attraction to Krishna, then we can relish even his pastimes, his ghastly pastimes, we could say. Because actually, those who are killed, they actually get liberation. Yeah. So I hope that helps. Just try and develop this appreciation for Krishna. There is a difference, we must admit, in these very sweet pastimes of his descriptions of his fame or his qualities and pastimes. But we also relish his pastimes, speaking Bhagavad Gita. We enjoy his pastimes of his killing demons, etc. Hare Krishna. Hope that helps. Hare Krishna. If there's anybody else, if not, I can leave you to the rest of the afternoon, and I hope this description is resounding in your heart and mind, and you can carry it with you for the rest of the day. And if you did enjoy it, then you could always, in your own time, you could read over chapter 21 to have a reminder of the Madhya Lila. And Hare Krishna. So Padmanabh Nityananda, you want to say some finishing, concluding words? Any news about courses or?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you for the enlivening seminar. It's been really useful. Lots of wonderful pastimes and realizations you were sharing with us. Yeah, we've got some more seminars coming up in the following weeks. We've also got Bhagavad Gita course that Jenny Dai Prabhu will be doing starting in August. So keep a lookout on the website for those details. It's called the Overview of the Bhagavad Gita. We've also got the ISKCON Disciple course coming up in October with Dayal Mora Prabhu. And next week we've got His Holiness Janananda Goswami Maharaj. So thank you once again everyone for joining us. And thank you Murali Manohar Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Wonderful class.